Hey guys, Sundown here. Just give me my chapter review to My Hero Academia, Boku no Hero Academia 204, Tuning. Now, I really enjoyed this chapter. I thought it's quite good. Horikoshi did a really good job of this chapter. So let's get straight in. No script boys again, just because I didn't want to. And I think this one might be better just to do reading it page by page almost to you as kind of a review because the chapter was kind of split into different scenarios, and we kind of saw Ida, and then we saw Tetsu versus Shoto. So we'll talk about it this way, I think. So Ida versus our boy Mudman. I've forgotten his actual name. Obviously the Mudman guy is super he's not super impressed. He's kind of shocked that Ida is able to break out of his like softening of the floor, and then he kind of absorbed him into the floor and hardened it while Ida was in there. So he's impressed that Ida managed to get out of it. And we see the small flashback where Ida's older brother, who was Ingenium, tells Ida, he refers to him as Tenya, which is his name. He's not his family name; it's his actual name. So he congratulates him on his provisional license, which I think he got. Did he get a little later? No, he must have got it at the same time as Deku and the rest. But so Ingenium is essentially telling him that you've been overusing your body, you've been overusing your engine and stuff like that. But you've matured through that, and it's about time that you start to tune up your engine. So what he then tells him is he tells him to pull out his muffler. I have no idea what that is. I'm not an engineer, so I assume it's something to do with, it's a part of the engine that limits it in some way. So Ingenium tells him to pull out the muffler and then to begin training without this muffler, and that will make him strong. And apparently it's something that either family have been doing for generations now, since their grandfathers, because their grandfathers were heroes as well, which is why they're kind of like a noble, almost like the Tenryubito of the hero world in My Hero Academia, but not quite as not quite as overlord kind of thing. So Ida then goes ahead and does this, and while he's kind of pulling out the muffler, he's being told that he's gonna be subject to intense pain and stuff like that. But if he gets through it, it's more along the lines of when you get through it, you'll be incredibly faster than you ever were before. So then Ida then goes and shows us like the raised horsepower of his Recipro, but he also tells us that his fuel consumption is down at its minimum as well. So he can keep going at maximum output for 10 minutes, which is a really long time for someone to go at maximum output for. I mean, like this is kind of hacks. Ida going at like max speed, like inhuman, like very inhuman speeds, faster than Gran Torino we hear in this chapter, for 10 minutes. That's pretty bad, like in terms of scaling with everybody else. But Ida was looking a bit on the weak side, so I'm happy he got this boost. But for 10 straight minutes, like that's a little bit excessive. So Ida then he's like, yeah, for 10 minutes I'm unstoppable. We get this awesome drawn panel where his shins raised up, and we see the kind of exhausts on his calves. And Mudman's just there like, well, shit, like this is a really bad situation. But he then realizes, and Ida tells him that at this power level and at this speed, he can't actually control himself very well at all. So Mudman then does the best thing in this situation. I really rate Mudman's ability to think on his feet. He absorbs himself into the ground that he softened, and then a lot like Senor Pink. I was gonna say Monsieur Pink, as if I messed it up. But yeah, just like Senor Pink from One Piece, Mudman does exactly the same thing. He dives essentially into the ground, and then he just swims through back towards where he assumes Tetsu is fighting Todoroki. And it was a very good decision by him. He's like, because he couldn't actually duke it out with Ida. If Ida landed a solid hit on him at that speed, it would have been a huge disadvantage for Mudman. And Mudman doesn't seem to be much of a one-on-one fighter, so he's just like, I'll leave this guy. He's too troublesome. I need to go and help out my team against whoever they're fighting against, Tetsu and everyone else, Kaibara and stuff like that. So that was a very good decision on his part. So then we have Ida kind of considering where Mudman's gone. Is he just hiding beneath the ice? Is he going towards Todoroki's direction? And then I think he realizes, oh shit, he's actually going towards Todoroki's direction. So then we go to Kaibara. We get a small interaction between Class A, but forget about that. We go back to Kaibara, and he's kicking the shit out of Ojiro, but Ojiro is holding his own for he's up against the ropes, but he's staying in the fight. He's just putting up his guard and taking the hits, as is clearly indicated by what's her name again? I've forgotten her name, the Jack. Her name begins with a J, I've forgotten what it is. So Ojiro, he's just like, what is the pain I feel in my heart? And I assume that's your pride is getting hurt big time, because you're taking all these shots from someone who you're probably more powerful than, but his technique and his abilities is rendering you useless. So I think it's more that his pride is getting wrecked here. So Kaibara is like just absolutely demolishing him, and Ojiro realizes here that he can't really attack because it's repelled, and then if he puts up his guard, Kaibara is like just taking chunks off of him, literally, because of the toughened material of his gloves, and because of his gyration quirk, he spins at such a speed where this tough material is literally like gouging holes in Ojiro. So they continue to fight, and then Ida just pops up out of nowhere and absolutely like well, actually, I was going to say he absolutely demolishes, but he doesn't really. He just kind of grabs Kaibara and just zooms away with him in tow. And Ida gives Ojiro his first instruction. He's like, alright, I'm going to go throw this guy in the slammer. You go and help out Todoroki, because he's fighting against Tetsu right now. So Ojiro's just like, alright, cool, I can do that. And in his head he's thinking, you know what, that's pretty impressive. You've actually gotten a lot faster. So this is a good drill, this whole kind of this I was gonna say objective. This test is a really good way for even the classes themselves, like Class A, to realize the growth that their own class members have gone through, and just what everybody is kind of struggling to get. Everyone's struggling to get to the next stage, and Ida's doing it, Deku's doing it, Bakugo and Todoroki and all these guys. So Ojiro here gets to see that, and I'm hoping what this does is it drives him and it motivates him to show that he also has gotten to that next level for himself. So Kaibara's there trying to get out of Ida's grip, and he mentions that, oh, there we go, that's the name. He says, you let Honenuki get away, which is Mudman, which probably wasn't a bright idea, considering like he's much more of a threat than anybody else because he's got the brains. And he was then saying you shouldn't interrupt a one-on-one fight, and refers to him as Ingenium. And Ida says, you know what, this is exactly what Ingenium would do. I think essentially what he's trying to say here is, I went for the villain that I could go for, rather than worrying about the villain that I have no idea where they could be or where they went. So I'm taking things in stride, and I'm adapting to the situation at hand and dealing with that situation rather than worrying about something I can't change. So I thought that was a good thing for Ida to say, or even imply, or maybe I'm just reading between the lines, but I think it's definitely that. I think it's definitely, yeah, that's a bad sentence. So then we see 2 minutes into the past where Todoroki is fighting Tetsu, and Tetsu, like I realized last chapter, but I forgot to mention it, or I simply just didn't mention it. But Tetsu is like the worst opponent for Todoroki, because being made of like that iron/steel, I think it's more steel, that kind of mineralization of his body, he can literally just conduct all of the cold, and the ice wouldn't affect him because cold wouldn't really affect him, and he can absorb all of that heat as well from Todoroki, because he unless Todoroki's going to melt him, which probably wouldn't be, that would probably be classed as murder, he can absorb all of that heat as well. So Tetsu is a really, really, really bad opponent for Todoroki, just naturally. And we get this same observation from Bakugo when he's saying, you know, his ice isn't working and he's just firing it off all over the place. What's he doing? You know, that's what a weakling would do. And we have what's his name? I've forgotten his name. The other guy who gets really hard. That's a really bad phrase again. I mean, like, I'll come back to that later. So Tetsu he's just smashing through all of this ice and stuff. So Todoroki Shoto almost in like desperation throws out a wall of fire. Now I'm convinced that Todoroki, or Shoto, I keep calling him Todoroki, Shoto did this because he understands what ice and flame can do in close proximity to one another, or a sudden change in extreme temperatures can do to something like metal, something steelish or ironish, what that change in temperature could do. So I think Todoroki's just going to play this. I mean, like, at the end of this chapter we get that kind of whole NG thing where Endeavor's talking to him about, you know, you've got this ability, you've got this ability within you that you just need to let out, and you have to recognize it and respect it and just bring it out. And then we see Shoto kind of just like, maybe I'm going to use this move or some shit like that. But I'm like, Shoto, all he really needs to do is freeze Tetsu to like absolute zero or some shit. He won't get that far, and then heat him up rapidly, and then Tetsu would just start cracking like a son of a gun. He would just start cracking big time, because that's the nature of a metal when it contracts and when it's frozen, then sudden expansion when it heats. That's exactly what would happen. And Tetsu over here, when he's absorbing the flame and he's becoming really hot, his flesh actually reddens off, or his mineralization reddens off, and I assume this is gonna look sick when it's animated. I don't even watch the anime. But Tetsu refers to himself as Chinchin, which Manga Stream tell us means penis in most Japanese dialects. But Horikoshi's he's like, no, I'm like, this was completely innocent. I'm just talking like Chinchin means burning hot or piping hot. So I was like, yeah, we're sure, Horikoshi, you just wanted to slide in that dick joke, So Tetsu then actually lands a shot on Shoto and actually scolds him a bit on the side of the face. On the same side that like he's actually got the burn mark, and I was like, that's a bit heartless. But so Tetsu like I said, stylistically and just naturally, the opposite, or not even the opposite, a really bad opponent for Shoto. But I feel like Shoto should win this, just because from a scientific point of view, that cold and then sudden heat, that should be the obvious way to go about it. But if that doesn't work, then he has this Endeavor flashback where he's like, when Endeavor's teaching him this technique that he wanted to pass on, and he then tells him that hiding within you is a power that you haven't recognized yet, and you have to become aware of that fact. So Shoto's obviously like, I can't believe my dad's popping up in my head at a time like this. But then he just kind of has this this grin where he's just like, all right, I'm gonna do something amazing. So that's how the chapter ends. Let me know what you guys thought of the chapter. Let me know what you guys thought of the review. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And I'm going to end this here because the video is about to split. So I'm going to end it here. I'll see you guys in a bit.